But Brandon, let's move on into our next topic. We're looking at the NFL draft, more importantly, the NFL Combine. I can't remember. I got to look it up for who asked about it. We did have a comment asking us if we're going to cover the Combine. Usually how we treat the Combine, because we're not there, is if a story happens before it, either the Onside Kick or the Primetime Podcast will hit it. Otherwise, we'll kind of hit some main stories after the Combine, after guys have worked out and what stories that we have following the interviews and stuff. But one going into that we didn't have yesterday when Mark and I recorded the Onside Kick was, I guess today it was announced that Sam Darnold will not throw at the NFL Combine. He's not going to throw. He'll wait for the pro day. So, Brandon, I'm going to ask you, Sam Darnold not throwing at the Combine, big deal or no deal? What do you think?
I think it's a big deal because Sam Darnold's supposed to be, right up there in the top group of the quarterbacks.
Could be number one overall.
Yeah, exactly. Josh Rosen, Josh Allen, Baker Mayfield. I mean, all those guys, and they're all going to be there. They're all going to be throwing, and he's the only one who's not going to be. I think that is a big deal, and I think it's a big deal because why would you not throw? Why would you not throw? And it was Rich Eisen who called into the Dan Patrick show that I think made a really good point that Cam Newton, when it was his combine day, didn't have the best combine day. And it still didn't matter. He still ended up going number one overall, but he showed that he wasn't afraid to throw to someone he'd never thrown to before and throw in front of people that he'd never talked to before and be okay with it and have confidence and do it just like everybody else and then cheer on and root on the other guys who are doing it just like everybody else. Sam Darnold's going to be there. He's going to be standing there on the sidelines watching as everyone else is doing all of that, and he's not going to be participating. What makes him better than anybody else there who's going to be throwing, and what makes him think that he can just stand there and not throw? Now, of course, it is a decision. He doesn't have to do it. I get that. But whoever is telling Sam Darnold that he doesn't have to do it and he shouldn't do it is giving him poor advice.
I'm on the other side. I could care less if he throws at the Combine. I could care less if he throws. And the main reason why is, I get what Rich Eisen said on the Dan Patrick show, where I'm in the spot of I can see the other side. I'm on one side. I can see the other side of why you might think that it's a bad thing and why you think it's a bad thing if you're on that side. Whereas Rich Eisen said, you want to see that guy where it's like, I got that competitive fire. I got that competitive spirit. But really for me, it's like, if he throws or if he doesn't throw, it's not going to change my mind of what I like with him. It's going to be the interview process. It's going to be what I've seen on the field from him already, what I'm going to hear. Obviously his coach is going to say nice things about him, but what I've seen in the game, if a guy's not competitive, it's not going to be like, oh, wow, he looked competitive at USC, but man, he didn't throw at the Combine, not competitive. He's not competitive anymore, didn't throw at the Combine. So, I mean, that's to me where I'm like, okay, maybe we're making a little bit too much. This might be a little flame that we're making a big flame. However, the thing that I will say, which is not good, is the last two quarterbacks to have not thrown, top quarterbacks to not throw at the scouting combine, were 2014 when both Johnny Manziel and Teddy Bridgewater did not participate in the throwing drills. Now, the thing you got to remember with both of those, first, they're both different circumstances. Johnny Manziel's was, I'm not going to throw at the Combine. Then he threw at the Texas A&M Pro Day. And do you remember that Pro Day? That was the one where he had the music blaring and he was whipping the ball around. And basically it felt like a spectacle for that Pro Day. Really, he felt comfortable. That was what it was all about. With Teddy, it was the whole Teddy Two Gloves drama where it's like, can he throw with the gloves? Does he need to take the gloves? Oh, no, he didn't throw with the glove and he didn't look good. Does he need the glove? We were focusing on the gloves when it came to Teddy. Part of me goes, I don't really know if this matters for him, but the interesting thing and this is me not knowing Sam Darnold, not knowing his camp, but I would not be surprised if this is someone whispering into Darnold's ear, hey, if you want to play in New York, if you want to play in Denver and not play in Cleveland, they might pass on you if you don't throw at the combine. There's a chance. Now, I'm not saying that's a thing. We haven't heard about that anywhere. But that's one thing that you got to think of also is it was even like Josh Rosen. Like, I believe before we came to the podcast, we were watching PTI, and they even said, like, oh, should the Browns believe Josh Rosen when he says, yeah, I'd love to play for the Browns after the comments that he made that he wouldn't want to play for the Browns and would not want to be the number one pick. I wouldn't be surprised if someone's trying to tell Darnold, hey, don't throw, so that he doesn't get drafted by the Browns and they pass over him because of Cleveland's extensive history with quarterbacks.
I guess I just think that if he's skipping throwing to prepare himself more for an interview, that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. You're there to show your skills. And yes, interviewing is a skill. But let me tell you, a lot of good players don't know how to interview.
True.
Chris Johnson, when he was with Tennessee, he was an outstanding running back. He was really good. Guy got up there at the podium, couldn't form a sentence. Not a good interviewer. Not a good interviewer. Great player. Doesn't matter if you got a good interview or not. You've got players now who will get up there, they'll give you nothing. A lot of people could say Bill Belichick sucks at interviewing. Bill Belichick actually really smart at interviewing because he gives nothing away, shows no emotion, gets no drama around his team.
Can't even understand him half the time.
But that's the whole thing is that is he a bad coach because he's not good at interviews? No, he's outstanding. He's the best coach in the league. I think you're there to show your skills. You're there to go out there, run your 40. Who gives a darn? You're a quarterback. If you're fast, wonderful. They can use you a little bit more. But you're not Russell Wilson. You're not. You're not Lamar Jackson. You're not Lamar Jackson with his speed and with his athleticism. You're good, but you're there to throw the football. You're there to throw the football. You're not there to stand on the sidelines and wait for the interview and then be like, man, well, hopefully I gave a good interview. It's like, whatever. Who cares? So Baker Mayfield's going to be there. He's going to throw at the combine. Now you, Ricky, you have said you're not so sure about Baker Mayfield because of his off-the-field issues.
I was. Those have been cleared up by now.
Okay.
I'm off that. It's not a Johnny Manziel issue with Baker Mayfield. They're two completely different situations.
Okay.
About a few months ago, I was a little concerned with those. Okay. I was a little concerned. I'm off that wagon now. Okay.
Well, I was never concerned because I didn't. I think that what he did was probably inappropriate, but not something that it doesn't define who he is. But he has a good day throwing at the combine. Then you can forget about that other stuff. But I think that goes again to show, like, great, Sam. You had a great interview. How'd you throw? You didn't.
Well, and the thing is, and this is also how you're going to look at this also, is even like I'm looking at what website, Cleveland.com, they're saying, well, it looks like the Browns are going to have to wait until his pro day in order to throw. But the one stigma that I've always heard about the pro day is that day is, it's like you and I when we talk about basketball or we talk about football where it's like, yeah, why didn't that team play well on the road? Well, when you play at home, you get to sleep in the same bed that you do every night. You can go through the same routine that you do every day. When you're on the road, it's, I woke up in a hotel today. I didn't get to sleep in my own bed. That could kind of play with you a little bit because you might not be as comfortable with that as sleeping in your own bed. Whereas in this, that's what a pro day is. A pro day should be, nothing should go wrong on your pro day because you should be setting that day up to be like, I am welcoming these scouts into my home and they're going to watch me throw. I should not mess up a single pass. I'm throwing to my wide receivers, guys that I've worked with my entire life here at USC. I'm going to be fine. Whereas, for example, at the combine, Sam Darnold could be up there D3 wide receiver comes up, a D2 wide receiver is there, a wide receiver he's not worked at before. And the thing that I think of, and I wanted to ask you this because when we talked about Darnold in the past, like recently, this was one of the knocks that I know you have brought up. Could we be, and this is reading into it, this is nothing that Sam has said, this is us speculating on this. Could this be one where people look at the scouting report and how some people have confidence as a weakness? Do scouts take out that highlighter and go, let's look at that a little closer. Let's look at confidence. Maybe is this a confidence issue of, well, I don't want to look bad in front of the combine with random receivers. I'll throw out my pro day where I'll be more comfortable, be a little bit more confident in my pro day than I would be at the combine.
Honestly, Ricky, if it wasn't already something that had been brought up and that had been talked about with Darnold, I would say no. That doesn't matter. It has nothing to do with confidence. But since it has already been brought up, that has been a question around him, especially for this past season, I'll say yes. It does have something to do with confidence. And the fact that he's not quite there yet. He's still not quite there yet. Could I be wrong? Sure. But I think that since it already has been brought up, that has been an issue, that he has not felt as confident in himself, in what he's doing, that to me, and then you're not going to throw at the combine. If I'm a team, if I'm a scout, I'm saying, maybe we don't have him as high. Maybe we don't have him as high as we should because we need a guy who's going to be confident in himself when he's coming here. I think that's going to be the biggest thing. So that could be definitely playing into it. But again, I think that's why it's so important that he goes out there, that he gets himself ready, goes out there and just performs. Again, he doesn't have to be great. He doesn't have to be sparkling because a scout is going to find something wrong with you no matter what. They're going to. That's their job.
Yeah.
But go out there and at least man up, get out there and do it.
At the end of the day, I look at this and I personally do not think this is, on surface level, this is not a big deal to me because whether you throw at the combine, whether you don't throw at the combine, I get, I'm going back to Rich Eisen's point of we're not going to learn new things about you. We're not going to say ooh, didn't know he could make that pass. No, I've seen the tape on you. I know what you can do. For Sam Darnold, I've seen 2 years of tape on you. I should at least have a pretty good idea up here of what you can do skill-wise. But it's the extra question, the stuff that we don't know. Is this a question with his confidence? Is this a premeditated move by the people in his camp to whisper into his ear so that he doesn't get drafted by the Browns? Because that's always thrown up when the Browns are going to be drafting people. And if it, I look at it and I go, if he doesn't get drafted number 1 because of this, not saying he will, not saying he won't, but if he doesn't go number 1 to Cleveland because of this, it's not going to affect Sam Darnold's career. It might. There's a better chance that it might end up better for Sam Darnold's career because of the track record I mentioned with the Browns and quarterbacks. They just drafted one last year, and they're already looking to get rid of him. I know he's not a first-round guy, but they already drafted one last year after passing up in the last 2 drafts Deshaun Watson and now Super Bowl champion, it was on the bench, but he's a Super Bowl champion, Carson Wentz. If I'm Sam Darnold and people are talking about, ooh, this could be the reason why I pass you number 1, looking at the track record of quarterbacks that Cleveland's passed on, fine, pass on me. Because that means I'm going to be better off than if you draft me. Because your track record of drafting, comparing to not drafting, is lopsided into the guys you've passed having better years.
And if I'm Sam Darnold, I go out there and you've made your decision. You're not going to stand by it, and don't listen to the chatter. Don't listen to the chatter and the speculation that we are making, and just. Hold firm, and I don't necessarily agree with his decision to not throw, but I can respect that He's made his decision. He'll stick with it, and that'll be that.
Here's what I want to ask you. Two-part question. Number one, because he doesn't throw, do you think this will, in the end, affect whether or not the Browns take him? And if you think the Browns will not take him because of this, either if it's because someone else throws better or not, how far do you think he will fall and what team might get him in the draft?
I don't think this is really going to affect him at all. I don't think Cleveland's going to take him. I think they're going to go in a different direction personally, but I don't think that he's going to fall. I don't think so. I don't think that this is really going to affect him that much. That's why, again, I think it's, when I said, and some people might say, well, Brandon, then why do you think it's a big deal? Well, I just think it's a big deal that you're the only quarterback that's not going to be throwing. You're the only significant quarterback that's not going to be throwing. Now, that makes it a big deal. If you weren't throwing and maybe Mason Rudolph wasn't throwing and, or you and Allen weren't throwing, something like that, then, it's not as big of a deal. You're the only guy. It's a big deal. It makes it a big deal then. But do I think that's going to significantly impact where he's going to go in the draft? No, I don't. No, I don't. If a team likes you already and has liked everything they've seen, has liked what they've seen in game, has liked your workout habits, has liked your consistency in what you do, that will not change by standing on the sidelines and not throwing. But it will question. It could question a team. Why isn't he? Why isn't he?
How I look at it is the only thing that this could determine is if the Browns don't take him number one because of this, there's not going to be a quarterback taken at number one. If the Browns decide, hey, we're not going to go at Sam Darnold because of questions from the combine, the only thing that will mean is that Saquon Barkley will be the first name that is called on draft day, because I would think that if this deterred the Browns from taking him, that on draft day, the Browns will go, let's take Saquon, let the Giants do whatever they want. We know the Colts aren't going to go quarterback. Let's reconvene and think about this at number 4, because they've got the 1 and the 4. So if it's like, yeah, we like this guy, but we also like Darnold, we're unsure, the only thing it's going to mean is that Saquon Barkley is the number 1 pick and he's going to Cleveland. That's the only thing in my mind that this will mean. It won't mean that Baker Mayfield jumps to 1 or Rosen jumps to 1. It'll be, yeah, let's go with our running back and then figure out this quarterback situation with pick number 4. Then knowing the Browns, they'll sit on their thumbs and be like, let's trade the pick, and then he'll be great for whatever other team that he goes to. Maybe win a Super Bowl in 2 years. Hey, maybe Deshaun Watson wins the Super Bowl this year. Gets injured, gets injured, Brock Osweiler backs him up, and just like Nick Foles, Brock Osweiler wins a Super Bowl in 2018. What if that happened? What would you do?
I hope that doesn't happen.
It's not.
It won't. It won't. With Brock Osweiler, it won't happen.
What would you do if, like, Deshaun Watson brings the Texans to the brink, last 2 games in the playoffs, Brock has to play, and he finally turns it on and wins the Texans the Super Bowl?
Brock Osweiler's not with them anymore.
No, I'm saying he's going to be the backup. I'm pulling that he'll be the backup somewhere, and I'm hoping that the Texans re-sign. I just want Brock Osweiler in the league because I love saying Brock the cock-a-doodle do, baby.
That's nice you like saying that, but he's awful.
No, he is. He's
awful. I mean, for $70 million or whatever ungodly amount of money they paid him, he's really bad.
Brock, really,
and
that was the only one I
Osweiler,
could
quite
think
honestly, I don't think should be the backup. He should be the 3rd stringer. Maybe that guy that they say is inactive each game.
TJ Gates.
That guy.
Besides Deshaun Watson, there's a reason why the Texans went up and traded for him. I'm actually looking at their depth chart right now to end this. And their quarterbacks, TJ Gates and Tom Savage are both free agents right now. Only Taylor Heineke, I think that's how you say his name, Heineke. Doesn't matter, he doesn't play. This is where you guys come in. Let us know what you guys think down below in the comment section. Do you think it's a big deal, not a deal, a little deal that Darnold's not going to throw at the combine? And what do you think is the reason he's not throwing at the combine? Let us know what you guys think in that comment section.